Good morning. My name is Benedita, and it is a pleasure to be with you at ICL 2021. I am here to introduce the Foldable Disaster Shelter, an EPS at ISEP 2020 project. EPS stands for European Project Semester, and ISEP is the School of Engineering of the Polytechnic of Porto. EPS is a project-based learning framework where ethics, sustainability and teamwork are major pillars of project development. In the spring of 2020, 6 students from different nationalities and fields of study joined efforts to solve this challenge. I will leave you now with the students' presentation. Thank you.
Eduardo, Andrea, Gabriel, Jyote, Vladimir, Laura. We are team based and our project is about foldable disaster shelter. In this presentation, we'll start talking about the current situation, followed by our objectives and requirements. Then we will go over the design, sustainability, and marketing implementation. And last of all, we will do an overview of the shelter, future development, and website, followed by a video.
So as I said, disasters are a thing that is not very relatable for people in Europe, but around the equator, it is a thing that happens regularly. These disasters, they cause people to lose their loved one, their work, and their homes. The victims of this disaster are transported into shelter camps, like you can see here. But in the most cases, those camps are built with the shelters here are built with a singular solution in mind, housing the victims. That's why I choose to create a shelter that can protect this victim against the weather and environment, of course. But it has to be done with 5 requirements in mind. It has to be foldable, it has to be modular, sustainable, space efficient, and above all, secure. Our shelter idea is borrowed of one of the biggest hierarchies in the world, the bees. They use a structure of honeycomb to create the most robust and sturdy structure. Because of the form of the honeycomb, it's easy to connect multiple shelters to each other and to create a modular whole. We choose to make the shelter foldable. This way, it was quick and easy to set up.
We integrated sustainability in this project by making sure that our product is built from the right materials that are eco-friendly. This way, the shelter is broken. If the shelter is broken or old, it is easy to recycle the materials. Besides the materials, we also made an effort to create the shelter with a small portion of materials. This way, we can transform the entire shelter in a small package that can easily be transported. As seen in the image on the right side, up top is the floor of the entire shelter, and we can transform it into a package that can easily transport the entire shelter.
We will slowly establish our brand by being present on the internet through our website and social medias, with focus on promoting our unique design. An important part of establishing a brand is to set up a good name. We chose Save This because of its simplicity and word associations.
Okay, as Gabriel already told before, we choose to get like a honeycomb shaped design, and this is because of the modularity. Every shelter is provided with 3 doors, and every door has like a double zipper. And by connecting the double zipper of one shelter with the zipper of another shelter, a community can be created. Then in the picture below, you can see that our shelter is provided with 3 steel cables on top of the folding mechanism. This is to provide the strength of the shelter and also to ensure that no water accumulation can be on the roof. And this is possible as the fabric of the roof is totally stretched over the roof, and it's also connected to the steel cables. You can also see that our shelter is elevated with like little legs, and we provided this as our shelters will be placed in an equatorial area, and these areas are known for like the hot climate, but also for like a lot of rain. So we wanted to elevate our shelter to make sure that the floor was not going to be wet, and a good ventilation could be under the shelter as well. Then in the next slide, I will talk a little bit more about the ventilation, as it was very important for our shelter because we wanted to provide like a pleasant temperature inside the shelter. The living space, like the cocoon, is like made of a double layer fabric, and this is cotton. We choose to get like a double layer as the hot air could flow like upwards, and it could leave the shelter because the roof, like the outer layer of the roof, is not totally attached to the other parts of the fabric. So as you can see in the picture, it's like not totally clear, but like the airflow can go upwards and it can leave the shelter, and fresh air can also like enter the shelter under the roof. And we also provided one extra window inside the shelter. So if the people wanted to ventilate the shelter by themselves, they can open the window and also one of the doors.
From the uniqueness of the shelter is given at the same time by one of its most important features, namely the folding. And from the beginning, this attribution represented the guideline in obtaining the final design. Thus, the shelter has a foldable, retractable structure, which allows its folding and unfolding promptly. The use of simple elements such as hinges can lead to a unique product. This structure provides at the same time a high degree of portability, efficient transport, and storage of shelters in specially designed spaces. Also, it is a very easy system to handle and understand by any user. Considering the dimensions and the materials used to design the safety shelter, their choice was made by studying, analyzing, and testing their properties. So we have aluminum, which is the predominant element used for the entire structure, being a strong material, durable, corrosion resistant, is extremely light compared to other metals, and is 100% recyclable. The steel cables with a structure consisting of 7 wires have a 4 millimeter diameter, are flexible and very resistant. Another component is the cotton fabric, about 107 square meters, used for the layers that cover the shelter and the roof, being a material with interesting exterior properties. We have also a cork roll fixed on the floor with a warm appearance. It is a durable material, waterproof, and excellent thermal, acoustic, vibration, and insulator, and is 100% recyclable. At the end, we will obtain a shelter with a total weight of approximately 187 kilos.
For future developments, our shelter will have structural optimization. On this topic, the team will explore more thorough load case scenarios and more detailed simulations, where we aim to better the structural integrity of the shelter while decreasing the material use. All of this further leads to further development of parts, where we seek to improve the actuation and durability of the structure and floor hinges, and add more details to the fabric components. Since the structure is made from metal, even if it's from aluminum, we want to avoid having water or any debris getting trapped in between any other components. To prevent this from happening, we aim to use a sealant or a high-strength metal adhesive, like the ones being used in the automotive industry, being that the latter also contributes to a stronger connection between the parts and doesn't require welding. There are also ideas floating on how to create a mechanically assisted system for the opening and closing of the structure, although mostly a curiosity and challenge. And our last point, we also intend to find a solution where the floor is incorporated into the structure and there is no assembly required. And this leads us to our ultimate goals with these developments. We aim to improve the structural stability, decrease the material usage, and elevate durability, which leads to a more sustainable final product.
Well, we made a video that shows our project. I'll let the video speak for itself.
Thousands of people become homeless due to disasters.
They will search for shelters and safety.
But we are here to help those people.
By using our design shelters, we can help the people in need.
Because we make shelters for a new beginning.
The shelter is designed like a honeycomb, a natural form, but also one that has great structural properties. Because the shelter is used in areas around the equator, it is necessary to protect the shelter against the weather. That's why the choice of materials is really important. We chose to create a shelter with the following materials: cotton, aluminium and cork. The shelter uses 3 steel cables in its roof to prevent water accumulation and promote air circulation. On the higher side of the shelter there are 3 doors that make the entire shelter modular. Below the shelter there's a structure that keeps the shelter elevated above the ground to protect the shelter and its environment. The entire shelter is easy to fold because of the hinges on its beams. All of the shelter materials can be packed in a single box made from the floorboard. This way there are no extra materials used to transport the shelter. Because it's important to have good communication between the shelter company and the shelter owners, we chose to build a database website where we could easily communicate with all the shelter owners around the world.